he frequently serves as a tragic character, one that wants to be heroic like his counterpart, but always ends up serving Superman's enemies.
He's like your exact opposite.
So he's Bizarro Jerry.
Really, it's incredibly toxic right now. I had a chief of staff for a moderate, the House Democrat say, the White House Legislative Affairs operation is just, they don't know what they're doing. So there's a big problem there. There's a lot of big problems.
Bizarro.
For much of this week, President Biden stayed out of public sight as Democrats fought bitterly among themselves. When he emerged Friday to meet with Democrats on Capitol Hill, there were two schools of thought about what he was up to. Either he had a plan to break the impasse and push for a vote, or he was making a desperate attempt to bring his fractured Democratic majority together. It turned out it was neither. This morning, lawmakers are back home, the president is at his retreat in Delaware, and the fate of the Biden agenda is anything but certain. In a way, the spectacle that unfolded this week was an unforced error created by an artificial deadline. Biden still has time. The real question is whether he has the votes. After all, he is attempting to pass a program as ambitious and expensive as FDR's New Deal or LBJ's Great Society. But FDR and LBJ enjoyed huge Democratic majorities. Biden's majority is razor thin. And time may not help. There is increasing tension among moderate and progressive Democrats and a sense that the White House is falling short. As one Democratic lawmaker told ABC News, quote, "Most of us are at a loss for words. There was no plan, no strategy, no timing."
Who is that?
Ah, that's right, you weren't around. Long story short, somebody tried to clone Superman, but ended up with opposite Superman.
Bizarro is evil?
No, he's harmless.
Out. And I think where Democrats' problem here is there's just so much mistrust. They really don't like each other. They don't believe in each other's same political motives. And the problem, though, I think isn't that they're lying to each other. It's actually that they've been honest with each other and they don't want to hear it because they have different visions. They have different numbers. They have different values. And so much of this is a long-running feud inside the Democratic Party that is no closer to being sorted out. And I think there's maybe an inevitability to the clash of this week. And I think that's the White House perspective. This was going to happen at some point or the other, so let's just delay this vote. But I don't see what changes in the dynamics in the next couple of weeks, because you have the progressives just as dug in and the moderates still willing to walk away.
Yeah, like Bizarro Superman. Superman's exact opposite. Who lives in the backwards Bizarro world.
A wild imitation of earthly civilization, where everything is the opposite of things we know.
It doesn't matter when, I had a political science professor in college who told me when your adversary is in the midst of committing suicide, there's no reason to commit murder. The result is the same. And that's what's happening with Democrats right now. It's the death of 2020 Joe Biden. When he went to the Hill, 2020 Joe Biden is now officially dead and buried. The guy who ran against the progressives, ran against Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, ran to be a uniter in this country, ran saying he was going to force compromise. And he went up to Capitol Hill and he capitulated to the progressives, the liberals in his party. And why should we be surprised? He couldn't stand up to the Taliban.
Shouldn't he say bad bye? Isn't that the opposite of goodbye?
Nope.
No, it's still goodbye.
At the same time, McAuliffe is sort of showing Democrats how to run. He's definitely been distancing himself from Biden. There was a debate earlier this week where, Youngkin was going hard after Biden on everything from Afghanistan to the border, and McAuliffe didn't defend him and, in fact, said the $3.5 trillion reconciliation number is too big. So we're seeing that distance start to happen as Biden's poll numbers go down.
Which is interesting to see McAuliffe to see Youngkin attacking McAuliffe over Biden in a state that Biden won handedly.
Yeah, and McAuliffe is the incumbent in this race for all intents and purposes. He even talks like he's still the governor sometimes. Does, yeah. And what's interesting here, this gets back to the conversation around infrastructure. Both of those candidates are for the bipartisan infrastructure plan. They both want to see it pass. And that, I think, is one of the reasons that this October 31st deadline matters. Because if the Democrats can't show they're on the move, that they're getting things done, Terry McAuliffe is much more likely to take the blame for the Democrats' inability to govern, inability to be competent in governance, if that's the narrative that comes out of this. And McAuliffe's been trying to make Glenn Youngkin into Donald Trump. His basic problem is Donald Trump is not Glenn Youngkin, and Glenn Youngkin is not Donald Trump.
I guess I've been at Reggie's.
The Bizarro coffee shop?
Kevin and his friends are nice people. They read.
I read.
Books, Jerry.
Oh.